Yo 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 les jeunes, 3e épisode de Drette sur le tape avec David Beaucage. On reçoit aujourd'hui Mike Condon, Mike Condon, l'ancien gardien de but des Canadiens de Montréal. On l'a reçu au studio à la fin de l'été, juste avant que la saison commence. Évidemment, bien avant qu'il sache qu'il allait être mis au ballotage par les Canadiens, qu'il soit réclamé par les Pingouins de Pittsburgh et qu'il soit après échangé aux Sénateurs d'Ottawa. Au moment de sortir l'épisode, il est gardien de but pour les Sénateurs d'Ottawa. Donc, c'est juste intéressant de garder ça en tête là, en écoutant l'entrevue qui a été enregistrée évidemment bien avant que tout cela arrive. On est souvent surpris quand je dis à des gens qu'on a reçu Mike Condon, ils sont assez surpris qu'on reçoive un joueur qui était pour le Canadien. Puis en fait, c'est que Mike est un ami du coproducteur de l'émission avec moi, mon ami Thomas, et auquel je fais référence dans l'émission sous le pseudonyme Producer Tom, qui est son nom d'artiste. Donc, ils ont été ensemble à l'université à Princeton. Donc, quand Tom l'a appelé pour venir au podcast, il a accepté. Il est vraiment gentil. Il a accepté même avant de savoir. Je pense que Tom était producteur. Il est arrivé ici avec son 4-pack de bière Sapporo prêt à jaser. Donc, vraiment chouette type, Mike Condon. Très chouette type. Vraiment pas exactement l'anti-vedette. Là. C'est un gars qui sait qu'une carrière dans la nationale peut durer 10 ans comme elle peut durer 15 minutes. Donc, il a vraiment une attitude absolument exemplaire. Il est venu ici jaser. La raison pourquoi j'ai expliqué comment Tom connaît Mike, c'est en fait, je l'explique d'entrée de jeu au podcast, mais tout ça dans un anglais absolument non réchauffé. Et ouais, c'est ça, évidemment, l'entrevue est en anglais. Je pense que c'est pas si pire. Évidemment, ça expose quelques lacunes que j'ai dans la langue de Shakespeare, mais Mike est de bonne foi, puis il n'en fait pas de cas. Mais non, sinon, ça s'est bien été. C'est sûr qu'évidemment, mon manque d'articulation que j'ai déjà en français, ça m'a appris qu'il se transposait parfaitement dans toutes les langues. Donc ça, c'est toujours fun de savoir que tu peux ne pas articuler dans plus qu'une langue. Sinon, c'est ça dans le fond. Je vous laisse écouter l'épisode. Donc, Mike Condon qui est passé au studio à la fin de l'été. Donc, premier épisode en anglais de Drette sur tape en plus. Donc, voilà. Here's my chit-chat with buddy Mike Condon.
Drette sur le tape avec David Beaucage.
All right, it's rolling. Thanks for being here, man.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So, first things first, the reason why you're here first is you're a friend with producer Tom. I call him producer Tom. Tom, who's a friend of yours from college who went to Princeton. And the way I found out about you is a year ago. He called me. He's always in a hurry. Tom is always in a hurry for
he's
no
a businessman.
reason. Yeah, he's never going anywhere, but he's busy.
Yeah.
He wouldn't be busy if he didn't take so much time saying he's busy. But anyway, so he called me up and he was like, "Ah man, can I borrow your inflatable mattress? I got a friend coming over and all." And I was like, "Yeah, sure. Like, come over." And he's like, and he comes to my place. He's like, "Yeah, I don't have time to kind of chat, but just throw the mattress and I'll tell you later." Right? He's like, "I have a friend trying out for the Habs." Wait, you have a friend trying out for the Habs? Yeah, whatever. Probably gonna be in the DHL or anything, and you were that guy. You happened to be.
Yeah, it was. It's always hard because you're making a decent amount of money in the minor leagues, and you're coming up, but you're still trying to pinch pennies and pay for school and everything. And so, I was still trying to pinch pennies. I was driving up. I was like, who do I know in Montreal?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh man, Tommy. I gotta give Tommy a ring. So I called him up, and he was nice enough to offer me a spot at his place. But I ended up finding something a little bit more comfortable and out of his hair. But funny story about Tommy and I is that he was the goalie. He was a senior, and I was the freshman coming in after him, who was replacing him on the team. So
exactly,
it's kind of funny how end up in the same city and I'm still talking to the same guys. So it's pretty cool to have that network.
Yeah, every time I tell that story, people are like, "He can't afford a mattress." I'm like, yeah, he can. But I mean, and I think you didn't even go out that night because you were supposed to kind of go out for the evening and then probably party and come back to his place. But you actually got a call and a practice was set up the next morning. So you just called Tony and was like, "Yeah, this is not gonna happen," and ended up going. Yeah. Something I wanted to start off with was about a year ago when you made the team, you guys had a chance to bring your dad on the road.
Yep.
The road trip. And one of my biggest laughs of 2015 was this young girl was interviewing your dad, and she was like, "Mr. Condon, your son made it to the NHL. He's in the NHL. did you always believe you would actually make it? And he was like, no, no, I didn't. I really didn't. Yeah. I told him, you got to get back to that finance thing. You got to get your thing going. And this is just how that's just so funny. Like, what's that say about your dad? Like he's the real deal.
I call him the Sarge. He's a sergeant. He's a sergeant in the Massachusetts State Police for about going on 30 years now. So he's a pretty serious guy. And so I was watching his like I always watch his interviews on the parents trip, and like they kind of teach you how to interview and really how to deflect questions and answer correctly. And I'm watching him, and he's answering every single question like he's at the podium about answering a homicide or something, and he's got his hand folded and he's all uptight and he's doing the yes and no thing like a cop. So he never really can shut that off. So when he was doing that, it was kind of the Boston came out in him, and it was like, you think you're gonna make the team? He's like, no way, no. What are you talking about? He's like, we've always been like an education first type thing. And there was that opportunity to go back to school and finish my thesis at the physical location at school, but I did it on the road. But the whole time he was like, hey, you're going to be there on time. You're going to be there on time. Like, you're going to get it done. And I'm like, I'm going to get it done. Relax. And he was, I remember I failed a class at Princeton, and it was like statistics, and I was so bad at math, and it was Princeton statistics. So I tried teaching myself the book with like 3 weeks ago, and I was like, I prepared, and I needed like a 54 just to get a D. That's passing in American college. I ended up getting like a 52. And so I remember that dropped my GPA from a 3.2 to a 2.9, which is a B- to a C+. So I told my dad that, and he was like, you know what, Mikey, it would have been nice to graduate Princeton with a 3.0. It would have been nice. And I was like, you know what, Dad? It took you 7 years to graduate college, so I don't think you have the right to really comment on my GPA right now. And he was on the Van Wilder times 7 years for undergrad. So that was pretty funny.
Now, what does he think of all of this now that you're in the NHL? Like, what is he like? Is he just like kind of all of a sudden like bragging? Is like, my kid is he like proud? Is he like what's
tough. I mean, it's the suburbs in Boston, which is Bruins hockey, and hockey's huge in New England as it is up here. And people you grow up playing with, everyone has the numbers still, and he gets bombarded as much as I do. And on top of that, he's part of one of the biggest fraternities in the workforce, which is the state police. So I mean, these guys are crazy sports fanatics too, and he has to work with them all day. So
his kid's playing for the Habs.
Yeah,
how worse can it get?
No, I mean, these guys are all Habs fans now. So it's kind of funny seeing that. And
that's cool.
I remember we were playing in Pittsburgh, and behind the net there was 4 guys from the state police who had red state police shirts with Condon on the back. And he's we're all kind of struggling dealing with everything. It's so new, and it's it's so much, and you can never really get away from it. But he's over the moon. He just needs to work on his interview skills a little bit better.
He was actually involved in the manhunt for in the Boston Marathon bombers.
Yeah,
what was that like?
Yeah, the marathon bombing was. I was playing in Houston. I was on a PTO in Houston, player tryout, and it was Patriots Day, which is a huge day in Boston, which is the Sox always play, and there's always a marathon, and security is always big, and the call went out that a couple bombs went off, and now the manhunt's on. So that went out over the whole radio, or like Massachusetts CB radio. So pretty much every single cop from 50 miles was there in about 10 minutes. And my dad said you should have seen the highway. It was thousands of police cars with their lights on, 100 miles an hour, getting down there. And then there was that huge shootout, and they were throwing grenades and all this stuff, and they ditched the car. And there was a lot of problems too with friendly fire, because guys didn't know who was who. A couple of cops shot at fellow cops, so it was kind of crazy like that. No one had much information. There was so much confusion,
panic.
Yeah, and they actually set up a perimeter where they thought the guy was, and they were going house to house, but the guy was actually outside the perimeter. So my dad's job, when they called everybody in, was to secure a part of what they thought was the perimeter where the guy was, and he ended up hiding in that boat, like a quarter mile away from where they thought he was. So,
oh my god, that was that's so intense. Like,
yeah, it was. I was watching it, and I was trying to call him, and he was like, "I'm fine. We're just securing this area." And I'm like, "Well, it's not like I'm in all the way in Houston. Now everyone's freaking out on Twitter and Instagram, and Barstool's going crazy, and it's everyone's texting, you're getting photos, and it's just like you don't really know whatever can happen with that.
Was he involved with the manhunt when they actually found the guys and all? Or by then he was like,
no, it was some guy. There was a boat in the back of this yard, and this guy was like, he got it sealed for the winter. So when you seal a boat,
oh yeah, I remember that.
You had the plastic covering on the boat. So when you seal a boat, you would remember if you take it off or not, because it's like really expensive to seal a boat. So the guy was looking out his backyard. He's like, hey, I called the FBI. He was like, hey, my boat covering is off. And that's something that people just don't do. It's hard to do. So within 5 minutes, FBI team was there, and I think it was like 500 bullets were shot at the guy.
Oh, really?
They only hit the guy twice, though, which is surprising, but
still got it in the end.
They got him.
I guess those bullets were worth it.
Yeah, they got him.
So you're from Massachusetts, and you're from like a hockey family. Was your dad like into hockey or?
Yeah. My dad was a football player.
Okay.
Yeah. So he played college and high school. He wanted me to be a football quarterback really badly, and I kind of had the pedigree for it. I was always a little bit taller, a little bit stronger than the kids in my grade, and I'm a lefty, so I could throw the ball pretty good, but football wasn't my thing, and played it in 7th and 8th grade, and I was just getting hurt on every single play, and I was like, I was playing hockey at the time too, but I was like, this is just no fun. Football practice is not fun, and I'm sure everyone who was listening to this who's played football, you got to be a certain kind of animal to be just every single play getting wrecked. But no, we weren't a hockey family. He played hockey in high school, got out of it probably when he was in high school, and tried to get my brother into it, and we had a nice little fresh. I remember we got the driveway paved nice and fresh, and it was nice fresh asphalt, so it was good for street hockey. And my brother was 5 years older than me, so I was the one naturally going in the net, and everyone in the neighborhood coming down, taking slap shots. So tennis balls and. Are you
the youngest?
Yeah, I'm the youngest.
Because it's usually the youngest. The youngest
is the shooting target. Yeah.
Were you like the always like? Were you like the type of guy always been a goalie? Did you like always want to be? Because they always say like the goalie's the weird kid in the team. He's just the guy doing his thing, and were you always like, I'm a goalie?
No, I was a forward. I mean, I think I was walking around when I was younger, telling everyone I scored 31 goals when I was a Might C, and there's like no way that was true. But for some reason in my mind, I scored 31 goals, and I remember telling people that. But I remember the moment I had to make a decision. We had a split family home, which is a typical like New England like structure. Like one stair goes upstairs, one stair goes downstairs. I remember I was at the top and he was at the bottom, and he's like, you got to make a decision right now. Are you going to be a goalie or a forward? And I was just like, okay, I'll be a goalie. And then that was goalie. And I think it was more the pads and the helmets and all the cool gear you get, all the extra special attention when you're a kid. It's like, no, take care of the goalie, protect the goalie. When you're a kid, that's kind of attracted for you. So I like designing that stuff.
Were your parents like, because like being a goalie is more expensive too.
Oh,
so were your parents like, oh shit, like
that was tough. I mean, my parents got divorced when I was really young, and money was tight, and we're different homes, different towns. It was
keep growing up,
and
the gear from the previous year doesn't fit anymore.
Yeah, when you're going through like 3 or 4 different growth spurts and skates, pads, everything changes. So. On top of, since 7th grade, I went to a prep school, so that was pretty expensive too. So
that was like a Belmont
Hill School in Belmont, Massachusetts. There's a pretty prominent prep school league around the city of Boston, which is
was it known for hockey or something?
Yeah, it was very known for hockey. It's called the Independent School League, and around that too, there's also Catholic schools, like you might have heard of, like Catholic Memorial or Boston College High, stuff like that, Malden Catholic, but. It's mostly schools like Nobles and Greeno, Belmont Hill. They're weird. Right. They're weird names when you hear them, like Buckingham, Brown, and Nichols. But
it's weird. It's funny you bring it up because I ran into a guy from my high school who I played hockey with who went to the States to St. Paul's.
Yeah, St. Paul's Academy.
To play hockey, and he was like, I played against Mike Condon. I was like,
Frankie?
No, his name is Julian Shine.
Oh, okay.
And I came back here and played for McGill, I think. And I was like, so because you've been portrayed as the guy who was always not the best from the group, but always kind of found a way to make it through. Yeah. I was like, so how was he? He was like, he was really good. He was the guy to beat if you want to beat. That's what he told me textbook. He said, if you wanted to beat Belmont, you had to go through Mike. He told me that. And I was like, so he finally someone saying like, no, he's good. Like not always. Well, he was okay, but then kind of no, he was actually very good. So I was like, finally someone like making like just. It's like it was really good in Belmont. So So, what was your mom doing for a living?
My mom was a real estate agent, so
Right.
when 2008 happened, that was kind of bad for everyone in the pretty much all across the board, and real estate really dried up. So she had to find an alternative means of making an income. So she was a clinical dietitian, so she does that right now in Florida.
Okay.
Yeah.
When you were in prep school, were you like the kid everyone was saying, like, oh, you're going to the NHL? You're a sure shot. Were you
Far from it.
Were you talking about the draft back then?
No, far from it. It's tough in prep school because there's always rumblings about. I went there in 7th grade, and it's till 12th grade, so you're there for 6 years, and everyone's always looking at the depth chart. Who's the senior, who's the junior, who's the sophomore, who's the freshman, and if there's a guy ahead of you, that guy usually gets the benefit of the doubt until you can surpass him. And you only really play 30 games, so it's like you have a really, really small window to prove your worth. So in front of me, I had 3 goalies. Behind me, I had 4 goalies. And everyone's parents are always whispering. Things are always going back and forth.
Yeah.
Some guys are friends with the other guys, and like, oh, this guy's so good. This guy went to that camp, and it was never that like, there was never anyone who was, oh, this is a solidified guy. This is the guy who's going to play. So I got to start my junior year, and it was just like that game was the game that kind of started it all.
Right, yeah. And was because you had the option probably of going to college, which you eventually did, but was junior ever an option?
After I committed to Princeton my junior year in college, I still had 1 year left. I got drafted last overall, or like 159 you could probably look it up. I don't know what the number was, but I know it's the second to last draft pick in the USHL. So Sioux City Musketeers.
Right.
I had that option, and then there was a team in the British Columbia Hockey League too, but I was already at Belmont Hill for 5 years. My dad already spent that much money. It would be kind of a waste to not get that diploma at least, and not have that network.
You didn't even bring it up or had to talk?
It was close. It was close. I kind of wanted to go as when you're a kid that young, and some team says they want you. It's like, oh yeah, I want to go where I want. But in reality, like I probably would have showed up to that tryout. There would have been 7 goalies there. And I would have already shot myself in the foot. So
when you got the Princeton. Did you have a financial aid for that, or did they offer you like what they call? It's not a scholarship because it's an Ivy League, but like the financial aid, you get full financial aid?
Yeah, it's need-based financial aid, so they take your parents' income.
Right.
Like you said, there's no scholarships, but when a single parent working as hard as he is, the read was not very accurate, but I took all the loans in my name because he paid for prep school, so I knew that he wouldn't be burdened with that anymore because he's already did his part.
Right. Yeah. So when you got to Princeton, you actually, I don't know if you found your own company, but you did some furniture moving. Yeah,
we Princeton Hockey is known for a company called Moving and Storage. It's a student agency. So what it does for the students is that in the spring when you're leaving and you have all this heavy furniture like couches, TVs, everything, and you live in California, like you're not going to take a truck, go put it in the storage area, come back in the fall, put it back in, like it's a whole pain in the butt. Right. It's very expensive. So we came up with, there was a plan that came up 20, 30 years ago where we'll store it for you, we'll pick it up for you, and we'll put it into your fall room the next semester. And you don't have to ever touch it.
And that's the hockey players.
That's the hockey players. So we would always show up 2 or 3 weeks early with these tractor trailers full of couches, TVs, granite bars, anything you can imagine from the craziest to the wildest, and we would have to pick it up, put it in the truck, drive it to the dorm. And this is an old campus, so you got 7-story dorms with no elevators, and you got to put a sofa bed that weighs 400 pounds. It was great for team building because you put a senior with a freshman, you have to communicate in order to get that thing up if you don't want to die. So
I read somewhere you say it was the hardest job you ever did.
The hardest physically demanding job I ever done in my life. Most painful as well. Your shins, your fingers. If you learn a lot very quickly handling a fridge with a microwave on top of it. There's a lot of moving parts and a lot of things that can, a lot of springs, a lot of places you could cut your fingers off, and not to mention dropping something is expensive. So I pretty much saw a lot. I ran it my senior year, but I saw a lot in 4 years, and it was the most fun, but. 10-hour days moving furniture. I see those guys out there right now, and I don't envy it.
You must be laughing your your ass off being paid to play hockey right now. Just hockey.
That's one of the things I've been probably most fortunate about is just perspective. Whether it's being in, playing pro in the East Coast League or working for a moving company. When I'm up here today and I get a set of pads and I get a T-shirt, I'm like, well, this is still pretty cool.
Yeah.
Because in college, you get a T-shirt and you got to fill out like a form for it, and then you got to have the NCAA approve it, and so it's a whole pain in the butt. But now it's like I'm still pinching myself every day.
Absolutely. You said you raised like around 200 grand with that job for yourself or for the
since it's a student agency, we don't actually get to keep it all. Some of the numbers probably were higher. I heard the higher numbers the years before me. It was declining when I inherited it, but they were bringing us something like $300,000, $200,000 in revenue, but the students only take split like 1% of it, so we each get like 0.5, and then you get a bonus too, which can be up to 100% bonus. But you're walking away with probably about $6,000,
which is
depending on how much stuff you break.
Which is not a lot of money for American.
For a college kid, $6,000 is a decent amount of money. I mean, obviously, it doesn't cover anywhere close to what tuition is.
Yeah.
But it's. And the amount of blood, sweat, and tears and swears and stuff like that. But the memories, I wouldn't trade for anything. It was probably one of the most fun I ever had.
Because here in Quebec, tuition fees are very low, like a few $1,000s.
Yeah, and I remember kids were marching on Parliament a couple of years ago, and I remember I asked them, and I was like, "What are you guys marching for?" And they're like, "Oh, well, tuition's too high." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, I agree, tuition's super high. What are you guys paying?" They're like $3,000 a semester, and I was like. You guys need to turn around. Like, this is absolute garbage. Princeton was like $65,000 a year, and I was like, it kind of angered me a little bit.
Yeah, it was like kind of the exact opposite. Mm-hmm. How was your hockey going in Princeton? How was that? How did that go?
It was up and down. Freshman year, I didn't play that much. I think I played 110 minutes or something like that, or I don't even remember.
I think first year it says here 4 games.
4 games. How many minutes? Does it say minutes?
No, it doesn't say minutes. Say 2.44 goals against.
Yeah, that's sub 3. I'll take it. It's above 9.
Just 4 games is not all.
Yeah, 4 appearances. I think I got 1 start, and the other were in relief. So I carried 3 goalies. We had a really good goalie named Zane Kalemba, who Tommy knows as well, who Tommy competed with. So
you only really actually played on. You didn't actually really play until your 4th year. That's where you actually played 24 games.
Yeah,
and got to start.
College hockey is. It's almost like you're stuck. It's almost. I don't want to use the wrong term here, but it's almost like being like you're stuck for 4 years.
Right.
And if you want to leave, the NCAA says you have to wait a year. So if you pick your school wrong, or the coach likes a player over you, or a disagreement happens or anything like that, you're constantly walking on eggshells because you have to follow what the team is doing, or else you're never going to play.
Right.
And you have 30 games. Right. And if you want to leave, you pretty much can't. So for kids these days, it's scary because the NCAA doesn't make it very easy for them to move on or to make a change if something's not right. And how do you make a decision when you're 18?
Right. So it's not all fun and games as we would believe it.
It can go very well. Obviously when you're on any team, you want to follow what the team protocols are and stuff like that. But if there's something that doesn't agree with you, maybe you don't even like the school, that's a huge thing too. Like hockey might be going great, but the school you don't agree with is now you have to wait a year, and you get a year older. And now you're graduating at 24, 25, time's running out, and now you have to go play junior as an older guy. It's just a whole pain, and it's very, very difficult for kids trying to play college hockey.
Did you, all the time you were in Princeton, were you still having like the NHL in the back of your mind, and like how is there any way eventually you were still thinking about it?
Yeah, I was working. I never really had like a huge a plan for hockey. I just knew like my whole career was just, well, how am I gonna like maximize this year? How am I gonna make this the best year possible? And everything was just working towards that year. Right. I need, like, as a freshman, how am I gonna get a game? How am I gonna do it? How much am I? How hard am I gonna have to work to get a game next year? It's like, now, how do I battle out this freshman coming in behind me who's really good? Now I'm every single day competing with this kid from fall to spring. Which
is a weird concept, to be competing against a teammate.
Yeah,
that's the goalie part. Like
that's what goaltending is.
Yeah, that's kind of how like, do you actually hate this person being?
Oh no,
you know what I mean?
No.
It's kind of a weird.
No, it's hard to explain.
Yeah.
My whole philosophy, I'm a guy who believes in karma, and hockey karma is probably the most, deliberate and quick dose you can get. So I never wish badly upon anyone. I think that's what what losers and cowards do, is when they wish badly upon someone, when they try to sabotage or anything like that. It's helping when you're not playing. You should help the guy to be the best he can be, because that good energy is only going to come back to you, and good gets good and bad gets bad. So every single one of my goalie relationships I've had in my career, I can say, in my opinion, have been very good. And I remember I was there with Sean Bonner for 3 years. He's a very, very skilled goalie. He's still playing right now in the East Coast League out of British Columbia. Me and him we're still great friends now. But every single day we battled it out for 2 games on a weekend.
Which brings the best out of everyone, I guess.
Yeah, I learned how to practice. Yeah. Practices were games. I mean, you have one bad game on Friday night, and then you don't play for 3 weeks, but that 3 weeks is only 6 games. So you're only playing 2 games a week, so it's like that whole week of practice is an absolute grind, and you're not even competing in a game. Yeah. And then the game hits, and you're like already emotionally and physically fried. Yeah. Not to mention you leave class, barely get a meal, run down to the rink, don't even warm up, you hop on the ice, now you're being evaluated. Yeah. For the weekend. That's college hockey.
Life's not fair. Life is not fair.
Life is certainly not fair.
But get used to it. Yeah.
It's not for the faint of heart.
I've read recent articles are coming up about how damaging it is for being a goalie on your body. I mean, the hips and the knees and getting surgery and stuff. Yep. How the butterfly, is not actually meant for human beings. It's just so hard.
Absolutely not. Nope.
And you did have your share of surgeries in college. You have actually both of your hips. And I think there's a little funny story here involving your dad and medication.
Well, we'll start at the first question, which I guess is just the butterfly in general, right? Well, like biomechanically, like you're saying, like a ball and socket joint isn't supposed to do like that, and your whole force of your body with your knees torqued and your femur torqued in such a way, transferring through your hips. Bone hits bone. When bone hits bone, it creates more bone. Now you have spurs, and then you're in a ball and socket joint, which is just a whole like gooey mess of just cartilage and membranes, and that rips that all up. You get sharp pain, or in my case, I just had huge spurs at the end of my femurs that I wasn't in so much like razor-like pain, but I would go down and I wouldn't be able to get up. It would take me 2 moves to get up. So one day I went to my trainer and I was like, what's going on here? I'm always tight. I can't move. I'm feeling locked in. And they're like, all right, we'll go see the doctor. And they had a bunch of interns in the room, and they took a X-ray of my pelvic girdle, and like they all started laughing as soon as they put it up. And I was sitting there, and I'm just like, all right, this is either like really good or really bad. Yeah. And the doctor was asked, one of the interns is like, can you see what's wrong here? And it's like, oh, isn't it obvious? His bone spurs are huge. And I was like, oh, man. So I had a thing that's called a cam lesion, which is just basically the top of your femur growing inside your joint. It's ripping your cartilage. It's doing all this stuff. So they went in there, and my sophomore year, I went to a doctor named Meninder Coker at Boston Children's Hospital, and they have this little machine. It's like a little Pac-Man, it looks like, and it just eats away the top of your bone. And, well, they pull your joint out of your socket so they can get into it, right? Put you in traction, then they strap you down, put you in traction. You're obviously asleep, and then they go in and they eat the bone away with this little Pac-Man machine, and then they smooth it out, and then they reattach what's left of your hip and floating around. And the doctor was like, I go, how'd it go? He's like, well, when I entered your hip, everything looked like a snow globe, because like all my cartilage and everything was just floating around. And, oh my God. But to be honest, right now, my hips haven't felt better, and I think a lot of that problem too is just college hockey in general, because we have the same lifting program as the football team, and most guys who graduate college will tell you this is it's a Monday and you're I mean, not to get too CrossFitty on everybody right now, but it's a Monday and you're squatting, you're hand cleaning, you're benching, and you're doing pull-ups all on the same day. And eventually,
you're 18.
Yeah, and they want you to keep, progressing, obviously, right? So now you're up to, we go from 185 to 555 on your back. It's not supposed to be like that. So
maybe not the best.
Wasn't the best. So the combination of those two things, the heavy lift, the Olympic lifting, mixed with a lot of butterflies, went to that. And I had my first surgery, and it was funny because it was my 21st birthday. I had my first surgery. I was like a day out of surgery. I was in a wheelchair. My brother bought me Bruins Habs tickets for the playoffs.
Interesting.
Ironic, right? So I was 21. He's wheeling me around, and I obviously had I only had one beer because I was on so much medication, but I had to have at least one because of my 21st birthday, and because in the States it's drinking age. Yeah. So he's wheeling me around the TD Garden, and I got handicapped seats, and I'm sitting there, and it was that game where Nathan Horton scored.
Oh, the overtime?
The overtime game.
Game 7?
Game 7, yeah. I think it might have been Game 6.
And that's the year they won the Cup?
That's the year they won the Cup.
2011.
And I was sitting there in my wheelchair, and I almost jumped out of my wheelchair on my surgically repaired hip one day out of surgery. But
he's alive!
Yeah, but the way they do it is they wait 4 weeks between hips unless you'll be in the wheelchair the whole time. Yeah. So I do one hip, wait 4 weeks, do another one. Oh, man. After the second one, my dad came up to me, and I had a bunch of oxycodone, and it was an intense pain because they obviously just shaved your bone down. Yeah. And I was like, where's my oxycodone? He's like, you've been on that stuff for 4 weeks now, and he flushed it down the toilet. So I had it for 3 days post. He didn't want me getting addicted, and it's probably one of the smartest things because opiate addiction in athletes right now is all you gotta do is Google it on the internet to see how prevalent it is. Did
you think you would have kind of?
I didn't really feel anything. I mean, who's to say? I mean, I still had muscle relaxers for my legs. I was still on other drugs at the time, but like specifically craving OxyContin, I don't think I could say I was.
Right. Yeah. Because some people say I'm aware that I do have an addictive personality. Yeah. Like this is a bad idea for me, and you have to kind of watch yourself.
Well, that's a huge problem in hockey. It's just a lot of people, almost self-medicate with pills and everything's available to players, and it's hard because
it's dangerous.
It's very, very dangerous slope.
Yeah. So you, when your dad touring up. So when you graduated, you graduated from Princeton. You're like, all right, now what? Like hockey, work? What's that?
Yeah, this is probably the craziest 3 months of my life. I look back on it now, and I was like, I can't believe that all happened. But I remember we lost to Cornell in the playoffs. It was my last college game, and 4 years is done. You're no longer an amateur. You can sign a pro contract, and we had one guy drafted by the Senators, Michael Sadeo, so he signs his contract. Another guy signs a contract in the Central Hockey League at the time. It no longer exists, but the Central Hockey League. Two other guys signed, and me and my roommate actually we were finishing running the moving company. Okay. And it's spring break, right? It's your senior spring break. That's when it's like, hey, the work's pretty much all done.
Party.
Time to let loose. Sports are over. Like everyone was going. I remember Ultra was huge at the time. Miami Ultra. That concert, like the EDM music, like the really loud thumping and bumping music.
Never heard of it, but it does sound like.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people who listen will know about Ultra Music Festival. So I remember we were sitting in this basement of the student agencies going over Excel sheets and contracts for like boxes and like sofa beds, and me and him every 20 minutes are looking at the ECHL transaction sheet, trying to see where's the job, where can we get a job here. Meanwhile, we're listening to a DJ named Hardwell with their headphones on, crushing at work, checking Excel sheets, checking scores of every single league, trying to find and trying to talk to our agents who, and when you're not making a lot of money, an agent's not going to be calling you back every 5 minutes. One day goes by, 2 days go by. Me and him are just on the ice trying to stay sharp, but it's not the same. It's not a practice. 3 days go by, 4 days go, 5 days go by, and I'm like, okay, no, time's running out. Finally get a call from two opposing teams, the Idaho Steelheads and the Ontario Reign were the two teams who called me. And they happened to be playing each other that weekend.
Again, ironically.
Yeah. And my agent was like, it's up to you which one you want to go to. They're both great opportunities. And I'm just like, I don't know. I'm not sure. So I chose Ontario.
Why?
I just don't. I just thought that it was a better chance of me starting because I heard rumblings. Because not only do you have to watch the ECHL transaction list, you got to watch the NHL list and the AHL list because it's just a trickle down.
Yeah, to see to whom you're
who's coming up, who's coming down because it's a domino. And
who are you battling against? And
who's going to be there? And if it's a draft pick, you might as well not even go because they're not going to give you the time of day. So now you have to find a team with an undrafted goalie who's hopefully unaffiliated, who will just play the best player. And in pro hockey, a lot of it's based on who has a contract and who's drafted. So, the statistics weren't good, to say the least. But I agreed to go to this team in Ontario, which I thought was in Canada, but it actually ended up being in California. Yeah. I had a 130-page thesis to write that I hadn't started on. I still had 2 classes. It was like, I think I went out around, I think it might have been March 5th, March 10th. We could probably look. What's the first Ontario game played?
Ontario?
Oh, it doesn't even say. It doesn't say.
It just says you only played 4.
Yeah. So I went out there on spring break. I went to the library. I grabbed like 100 books. I didn't even have my topic yet. And I was hoping just to mold these books into a 120-page paper that would make sense to a Princeton professor who has like 7 degrees. But we got it done somehow. Managed to play some decent hockey in Ontario. They sent JF Berube down. It was the LA Kings affiliate.
Yeah, he's been playing. He's been called up.
He's with the Islanders. Yeah,
exactly.
I actually just saw him today. Skating up in Boisbriand. Yeah, so we had the same goalie coach, and I saw him today. And it was funny. It was the first time I seen him since Ontario. It was kind of funny seeing him there. And
you guys like kind of shaking your heads, like, yeah, we made it somehow.
Like we went from there to here. So it's pretty crazy. But
because people mostly don't realize like that. When you play in the East Coast, they call it easy come, hard leave. Yeah. I mean, that's the league where dreams die. It's like stories like yours are very rare to come by.
Oh yeah,
and people have been like getting called up and making it to the NHL from the East Coast is just such a rare thing. Yeah. Like now we're talking about it. It's like, it's so cool it happened, but statistically, just so rare.
For goalies, there's a better chance of the goalie, but if you're a forward, I mean, you look at a guy like Antoine Roussel, it's like that guy like grinded his way up from the coast. If you're an undrafted player, just grinding your way going. Was he drafted?
I don't think so.
I don't think he was drafted.
I don't think so.
Like you have to have.
He played his junior in Quebec and went undrafted, if I'm correct. And Alex Burrows.
Like those 2 examples are a lot crazier than mine because goalies, it's like, well, goalie gets hurt, then you get moved up. But when you're a forward, you got to put up points or you got to fight. So I was about ready to go home when JF came back. I wasn't playing anymore because it was a Kings affiliate team. So the Kings were going to play him, obviously. So I knew that, and I was like, well, I'm not going to sit here and back up. I'm going to go back to college, finish my paper, and
which you did,
which I did. But I remember I was about to leave the next day, and I got a call from the Houston Aeros, and somebody got hurt in Minnesota's organization. So next day upgraded to the AHL.
Which where you did pretty good. You were just called up in the AHL, 5 games and 2.39 goals against. And it's pretty high level hockey there.
Yeah, I mean, you don't know if you can play in the coast, right? You know, from college to coast, you're like, because I watched a couple games with the Trenton Titans, which is right next to Princeton. I'm like, I don't know if I can play at this level. And then you keep asking yourself that question. Like you never really know. You think you can, but like, how do you really know? Yeah. So I was like, East Coast, I can. Well, let's see. I can play here. AHL. I don't know about the AHL. I'm not sure if I can play here. And 5 gets like 2 more goalies get hurt in Minnesota's organization. Well, I guess I can play here. And then there's then Backstrom got hurt, and then I'm playing in the Calder Cup playoffs, and I'm just like, 2 months ago I didn't have 4 weeks ago I didn't have a job.
That's how fast.
And then, May 5th, sign a contract with the Canadians, finish your thesis, come back to college with a week to go, and you just sit down, like you're like 20 cities, like 50 plane flights, and you sit down and you're just like, I remember sitting on my couch just looking at the wall like, what just happened?
Yeah.
What just happened?
Oh my God. And when did you actually, because there was like this very brief period of time where you thought or tried to work in finance.
Yeah.
How long did it last?
It was more of, people, it's funny what you say in the media and how people kind of run with it.
Yeah. Because you've been portrayed as a financial whiz.
I'm not a financial whiz by any means. As I mentioned earlier, I failed statistics, so I'm not sure which company would hire me. But Princeton is always it's pushed on you heavily, the finance route, the Wall Street, all that stuff, the investment banking, I could go on and on and on. So I had a contact on Wall Street, and at the end of my junior year, usually the way it works is you get an internship your junior summer. You work as a slave for the summer, not making any money, working 15-hour days, sleeping under your cubicle. And if they like you, they offer you a job when you graduate. So I was trying to get that internship so that I could get a job when I graduated my senior year.
The next year, right?
So I interviewed at this one place, and I did it was funny because we lost to Yale, and then we drove back from Connecticut to Princeton. I got stupid long hair, because I was just like a college trying to be a college beauty. So I got this stupid long red hair. I got this terrible suit on. I'm like, the train ride's like an hour from Princeton to New York City. I got this interview the next morning. I get like 2 hours of sleep. I throw like 10 pounds of gel in my hair, like trying to like make it look presentable or whatever. I bring the gel with me because I know it's going to come on. I know it's going to come apart. And I'm wearing a light blue shirt, like a huge mistake. And I get to the platform, and I'm looking at the train platform, and there's like 5,000 people there, and it's like 5:50 in the morning. And I'm like, what the heck is going on here? Is this the train for New York? And I asked the person next to me, like, is this the train for New York? And the guy just looks at me, he goes, no. And then looked the other way, like sarcastically, and I'm like, oh my god, this is the rat race. And so I like, the train lines up perfectly with me so that the door opens so I can get a spot. I'm like, nice, all right, whatever. And then there's like an old lady next to me, and I'm like, all right, yeah, you can go. And then like 5 guys behind her just like steamroller, and they push her into the train, and everyone is just funneled into this thing like sardines. And before you know it, I don't even have a pole to hold on to, and I'm arm to arm, face to face, for an hour and 10 minutes on a train, which obviously the air condition broke on. Great, light blue shirt, middle of spring in New Jersey, heading into and you're in the tunnels of Penn Station. So you get off the train, you walk into this thing. There's homeless people who are just sleeping like on next to the stairs. I'm not sure people who listen who walked up the stairs at Penn Station next to Madison Square Garden. There's like probably like 60 stairs. There's just people just sprawled out, and it was like, is this guy alive? Like, should I stop and like check his pulse? Like, what is going on here? Everyone's just stepping over him, and then you walk out there and you see the New York streets for like, I've been to New York before, but now I'm wearing a suit, so I think this is different. Like, this isn't for fun. This is business. And he's like, yeah, I'm on like 5th and like whatever street. I'm like, I gotta go find this street, and like hail a taxi. Taxi doesn't take credit card. This is going great. Find the building. Shirt is absolutely, it's a navy blue shirt now. It's a navy blue shirt now. And this suit is even like, I probably smell so bad. I've just been sweating on this train for an hour and a half. I gotta go back in the shower. My hair is a friggin' mess. I look like Carrot Top, the comedian. I'm like, I'm gonna get laughed out of this interview. And I go up there and I meet my contact, and his name's Jason Seidel, and I'm still pretty good friends with him. And he's a mask collector, and that's how I kind of got in contact with him. You go in there, meet with like 4 or 5 different people, just get absolutely slaughtered with questions. Like, I'm a political science major, and they're asking me about, supply side shocks to Freon and fridges, and I'm just like, well, I went to a liberal arts school, which helps me deal with complex problems like just absolute garbage out of my mouth, and they can see right through me. I should just probably leave right now. But kind of mentality. I'm not your guy. And I went to go talk to Jason, and he was like, if I were you, I would just chase hockey. This isn't going anywhere. You can get a job here. And at that moment, I took his advice, and I was like, all right, hockey it is. Let's go. And it's not that I wasn't fully invested in hockey at that time. I was just doing what I thought like Princeton kids should do, because it's pushed on you so much. Kids talk like, oh, I got Dahlman Rose, or I got Goldman Sachs, I got Citibank, I got you get an internship, you're cool.
Yeah, so you got caught up into this, and then
it
turns out that guy was as right as he could.
I still talk to him. But he's
now he's like, I was the guy who told him he should pursue.
I think they quoted him in an article in the New York Times actually, and he got some FaceTime. But yeah, I'm sure I'll send him the link to this. He'll laugh because he'll remember. He'll probably laugh at what my hair looked like.
I'm gonna. It's so much to cover, and we're just gonna fast forward because you fast forward to Canadians offering you a deal and all. I was chatting with Tommy, producer Tom, with this about this, and we were like, what is it like on the human side, if you want, psychologically, being wanted and sign with us from people who merely months ago ignored you and didn't give a crap about you. I mean, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And this all of a sudden, it's just, all the business side of it. Like on the humor, you're like, nah, man, fuck everyone. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's just like, what? How's that? How did you deal with that? And is that something you go through or not?
Yeah, it was more of just like asking people who've been through it, like what's it like, and listening to people who played. And luckily, we had to have a couple Princeton pros who played, like Daryl Powell, Mike Moore, Kevin Westgarth, George Peros, Jeff Halpern. And we have a great network, and they come back every year at reunions where I see Tommy every year at reunions, and just talk hockey, and then so you get to kind of know what pro hockey's like, and just to get a call, it's not so much of like, oh, that team ignored me. Then it's you're grateful that you got a call. And I think your more question is like, do you have a chip on your shoulder? Right? Like all these guys don't want. Yeah, like I was told I was gonna get drafted in the 7th round when I was a junior in high school, and I thought I was pretty cool. I was gonna get drafted, and that never came.
That's not how it turns out.
It gave you a little chip on the shoulder, but. No, I remember when I got the call from Montreal that they were just interested. I was on a bus from Houston, and I was in the bathroom on a sleeper bus, and I got the call from my agent. I was like, okay, this is getting serious. Yeah, this is getting really serious.
You show up. You did pretty good in Hamilton your first year.
Yep.
And then you were signed to a 2-year contract, 2-way, then 1-way for this year and this upcoming year.
Yeah.
And then so you show up to the camp. Canadians happens to have one of the best goalies in the world. Blah blah. He gets injured again. Hockey karma coming back around, and you just happen to be there, and no one knows who you are in Montreal, but you just happen to be at the right place at the right time. And I mean, Canadians went off this hot start, 9 wins in the beginning, and you got the backup job right out of the training camp, pushing Tokarski down to the HL. When you get into that locker room and guys don't know you, you're a new guy, you're the new guy in town, and Tokarski has friends in the room. They've been guys with whom he played in the HL, and you're this new guy coming up and pushing their friend down. How did you come in the room? Do you feel you're kind of taking someone's place? How is?
It's hard. It's hard because I consider Dustin a good friend. Dustin was always very, very nice to me because I was in the East Coast while he was in the A, and he was always very, very nice to me. And it's just one of the crappy parts of the job. But it is a business because it's either at the end of the day it's either you or him, and that's the way it was. But I also felt that too, kind of that it's only natural that guys develop connections with players, and when you see a guy go, some guys are more sad, and I knew that. So I mean, I was also a rookie. My first 3 years in pro hockey, I was a rookie every single year. So even 4 years.
That's all you know, yeah.
So 4 years I was a rookie, and it's tough when you're 25 and you got a 21-year-old or a 22-year-old telling you to pick up pucks. It's kind of like, this isn't my first time playing hockey. I've been a senior on a team. Like I've played a long time, but it's hard in that sense. But you also learn that I've been in so many different locker rooms in such a short period of time. I learned the best way to acclimate is just to keep your mouth shut.
Do what you gotta do.
Don't say too much. Do what you gotta do. Get on early. Stay on late. Don't be late. Simple stuff.
Yeah.
Just don't be a jerk.
When Price went down and you got kind of thrown into the starter role, I mean, that's what it was. Was it harder? Because the load is kind of heavy now because games every 3 games in the highest level of hockey every week, and the practice now. Was it harder mentally or physically being all of a sudden being a starter?
Everything was 1,000 times harder. Everything was. Because in the AHL, like you said, you have a 3-on-3, you kind of get in the game mode, you're playing 3 games this weekend, and then you have 5 days off. Decompress, get your therapy, get away from the rink a little bit, attack the game again next weekend. Now, you find out you make the team. Holy smokes, I was just getting over playing my first preseason game. That was pretty cool. Like, I never played a preseason game before then. I didn't get the chance. And then this year, I was lucky to get 2. And I was like, whoa, that was cool. Now you're on the team. You're playing October 16th against the Ottawa Senators. All right, okay, it's their opening night. All right, okay, we can handle it. Let's do it. We get that done. We go to the West, and Price gets hurt. I play against Calgary. He plays against Vancouver. I play against Calgary. I don't know that he's hurt. And then, hey, Connolly may have to play a little bit longer. Price, he's a little bit banged up. I'm like, all right, how much is a little bit long? I remember I was at the keg with my roommate who happened to run the moving and storage agency with me in Calgary, and I was sitting there, and this game is, I can't begin to describe you how ironic and how much karma is in this game, but I'm sitting with his name's Rob Klebaum, I'm sitting with Rob, the guy who was my co-manager in moving and storage. We're having a glass of wine at the keg, like after the Calgary game, like, hey, like, congrats on your second win. I'm like, yeah, this is crazy. And then Steph Waite walks up. He just happens to see me. He's like, good game, Mike Condon. You're playing against Winnipeg at home. I'm like, that's the next game. And he's like, yeah, Pricey's a little bit banged up. I'm like, oh boy. So I spit that glass of wine out, and I drink the water, and I go to bed. And I'm like, okay, here we go. First game with the Bell Center. That's a whole different animal. The Bell Center is just the craziest building in the NHL. Like, I'm not sure if you've ever been on the ice level, but looking up when there's fans, it's just... It's unbelievable. It's like the motions through your body are crazy. And so that first week, I think we played 4 games at home. It was the Winnipeg, it was the Bruins, it was the Islanders, and it was every other night. So
you were there.
I was playing, and fortunately we won them all. We won up with 4-0 in that thing, and
that was good.
It was, wake up, grind, game, day off. Wake up, grind, game, day off. 4 days in a row.
That was intense. When you're witness, you didn't get to see Carey a lot because you went down early in the season. But witnessing and being on the side of Carey Price every day, why and how, from your goalie perspective, why is he one of the best in the world? What makes him one of the best in the world?
I think it's 2 things. It's one is that mentally, when it comes to analyzing the game, he understands forwards better than most goalies do. Because if you watch him skate with just his gloves and skates, like on like when TSN showing him skating around, you'd be a pretty good defenseman. He's got great hands. He shot on me before it. He's got a really hard shot. So, and when you listen to him talk about sticks and curves and stuff like that, and lies, that's something that lies on sticks, like the angle of the blade. Right. Sorry, some people don't know. The way he talks about it, like he talks about specific guys' curves. He's like, oh, Crosby's curve. Oh, this guy's curve. Like, I'm starting to pick up like guys' curves, what they like to use. But the way that he can read a curve from a shot is almost that, like, he can predict where guys are shooting far better than any other goalie can. So you have that aspect combined with the fact of his absolute, just pure understanding of biomechanics of goaltending, using his body, using his size, his patience, when he has to, his power. Like, he's a big guy. Yeah. He's a big guy. People don't realize. Like,
6'3" or something?
He's 6'3", but it's not even that. It's just the strength. It's just the raw, natural strength that he has that can...
From the legs.
That can bail him. His legs are huge. That can just bail him out whenever...
Right.
It's seldom times that he needs bailing out, but when he has to put that desperation save button, he's probably one of the strongest guys in the league at that. So you couple those 2 things of being able to read a blade... And to
so the guy's doing his homework. I mean,
I'm learning you have to. Learning you have to. And it's easy to learn guys on your team tendencies, but it's the stuff, it's watching guys, it's watching as much hockey as you can. It's knowing where Kessel likes to shoot when he's coming down the wing. It's knowing obviously.
He likes his the opposite lower side.
He likes about this 8 inches off the ice, low blocker. But I guess when we play Pittsburgh this year, he's going to shoot one right by my left ear. But, I probably shouldn't talk about where guys like to shoot. Yeah. But I mean, the best guys know. But the best guys can also read. They can read deception on stick. They're not even looking at the blade. They're looking at their blades of their skates. They're looking at their wrists, and they're looking at their balance. So it's like Carey is so good at absorbing all that, and then with his natural raw power is just there. Athleticism
and information being processed at high level.
And not to mention, he's one of the most underrated puck handlers in the league. Everyone always talks about. I mean, obviously Mike Smith's unbelievable hanging the puck. Like Martin Brodeur was unbelievable hanging the puck. But you watch Carey;
he's really good.
There was a big difference. There was a big adjustment period for our defensemen when I was playing, because when I would go back there, I wouldn't be able to sauce it over a guy's stick at the other blue line, or to make a blind backhand pass off the glass. It's right on PK's stick, right out the zone. Yeah. People don't realize how much that helps the team in terms of zone time. Right. Changing the D, pushing the puck up the ice, because when the puck is on your end, it's in there, and people don't realize how good Carey is at that.
Actual third defender and just moving the puck up. That's real interesting. Yeah. When you made the team and when you make the Canadians, there's like the Canadians effect. All of a sudden, you're famous. Mm-hmm. People know you. Yep. They didn't know you yesterday, and they know you now. Yep. And that's kind of, and I don't know if Tom ever told you that story, but one night he brought you out. He took you out to dinner, and he called for to have a reservation.
Yep.
And the lady said, "I'm sorry, we're full. We're full." And he said, I'm going to try this. And he went on and he said, "Yeah, well, maybe you can help me with this. I'm trying to bring my friend a goaltender of the Canadians." And she said, "Right away, we have a table for you at 7, sir."
I don't think he told me that one. Or maybe he didn't tell me he did it.
I think he actually did. He was like trying out for fun. Like, is this an actual thing? Is this such a thing? And obviously there is. And she was like, "We have a table for you at 7, sir, for 2.
Yeah.
And I mean, what's that change in your life from who you were like 2 years ago as a now?
Yeah.
People recognize you in the street.
I guess I keep on saying everything's twofold, but I guess it's twofold in this sense. It's that I'm the same person. I barely know you, but I want to come do a podcast with you. I like talking to people. I like meeting people.
Yeah.
I'm the same guy in the street when I see someone, like, pictures, autographs, whatever, let's do it. Like, whatever you guys need, whatever I can do to put a smile on your face and leave you feeling better about this discussion. I'm about that. But it's also double-sided in the fact that, too, that, there are people in this world who are going to take advantage, who are going to try to exploit, who are going to try to portray you in the light and try to make a story out of you. And I understand that side, too. That's part of the gig. But
try to make a financial whiz out of you.
Yeah, so it's hard to be yourself, knowing that you have to censor yourself a lot too when you're talking to people.
Right.
When you're in the rink, you're in this robot media mode. It's different than being in this room with hockey jerseys and
It's almost as if there's you, there's Mike, and there's your character.
Yeah.
Your character is a guy playing goaltender for the Canadians, but you kind of have to make the difference between those two. It's kind of
as much as I would like to give the reporters, my true honest opinions or anything like that, or to open up as much as I can. That's obviously not going to be reciprocated in the same way. It's not going to come back to you with the same intention that you gave them. It's not the good intention. Like, oh, okay, I'll help you out with the article. Sometimes it's, things get misconstrued, angles get played, stories get made, and it's tough when there's only one major sports town. No offense to the Impact or the Alouettes.
But I know what you mean. Yeah. When in the girls department, girls coming up to you, they know. Those probably maybe not. But maybe girls who wouldn't have just passed right by you just a year ago now. They want to tell people they slept with the goaltender from the Canadians.
Oh, absolutely.
What do you do when girls come up to you and go?
I was fortunate in the sense that I got to go to college and I got to have the college experience and I got to
the fame factor and all.
The fame factor
in college. Yeah.
Let me tell you one thing: being a hockey player at Princeton, you were not the coolest guy on campus. I remember I was a freshman because I grew up in Boston, so it's like everyone was BU, BC. Those guys, I went to those parties. Those guys are cool. Like girls like those guys. So I thought I was a cool kid. I'm going to go to college. First night, I was going out there and there was a girl and I was like, "Hey, I don't know. Hi, I'm Mike. Nice to meet you. Yeah, I'm on the hockey team. Yeah, whatever." She's like, "Yeah, I'm so-and-so. I'm on the squash team. We just won a national championship and I'm a financial engineer." And I'm like,
"Who are you?"
All right. Well, this has no pull whatsoever. So, the celebrity was not a factor in college for hockey. No, I mean, if you're a potential Princeton student hockey player, please still go. But I wasn't the big man on campus. I wasn't the affluent guy. I wasn't wearing the new stuff, so I got that good dose there. But
you learned from that.
I learned from that. And for now, when I meet people, I'm single now, but when I meet someone, I'm almost more attracted to them if they don't know what hockey is. Because when I meet someone now and it's a girl and it's like, "Oh, you play for the Canadians," it's more or less just like, "Well, you don't really like me. You like the idea of me." Do
you sometimes feel they fake? They don't know you, but they actually do. Does that happen?
Well, being a political science major and the son of a state trooper, I'm pretty good at reading deception. So I can tell when someone is trying to pull a fast one by me. There's certain questions you can ask to kind of get their true intentions. But I mean, it's all about the situation you put yourself in. If you're going to the club, if you're going out at Saturday night and you're going to these, these
the main.
If you're going, I don't want to name any club, but if you're going to these things, you're just putting yourself in a bad situation. Me, I prefer. I mean, you have to let loose. You have to go be social at some point. I like to go to the more low key spots where it's quieter. Where there's more, I don't know, we call them business professionals.
Right.
I don't know, more people who are just in control, and it's not just about
the show off kind of side.
Yeah, I mean, I'm 26 now. I feel like I'm 40, but
yeah,
it's like I've been to college. I did the crazy drinking thing in college, and now it's more like I'd rather have a Sunday morning where I don't sleep till 4 p.m.
Absolutely. Fast forward to everything goes well for the Canadians past season, like up until December, and then sometimes it happens because in every field or whatever, kind of shit hits the fan in a way. Team starts losing and kind of starts snowballing and the team tried to recover from that and it just was really hard and all and I mean, from like now we have a step back. What went wrong? What happened? Like
what went wrong?
Tough to say.
I think the first. I think it started after the Father's trip. We lost in a shootout to Pittsburgh. We went 3-2, and puck got tipped by I think it was Hornquist. Like shot a puck and it went off like Emmy's shoulder, and it just deflected just a little bit, and we lose in a shootout.
Yeah,
that's one.
Just a bad luck.
We go to Carolina, we lose 3-2. We're like, all right, we just lost 2 1-goal games. Okay. Then we play like Colorado or something like that, and then was just terrible. We just one of those nights where
just didn't go your way.
Puck looks like a BB. Like there's nothing's going right.
Yeah.
Get yanked from that game. A couple games go by. Ticker's back up. Ticker starts playing well. Still losing that game. It's almost like the league is a race to the third goal. Whoever gets the third goal, I don't know, statistically, there's probably a number out there. They're probably going to win. It might be like 60% of the time they're going to win. It's a race to 3. So we started losing the 3-2 games, and then there'd be the games where it would be, playing great, and we'd lose a 2-1.
Right.
Yeah. We never really lost the 5-6 or the 6-5. It was like we were always there. Everything was just so tight, and that's just the way the league is. But I felt like our team more than any was just 3-2. 4-3, 2-1.
How does that
3-2 overtime?
How does that translate to a locker room of professional hockey players feeling the game slipping out of their hands every game?
It was frustrating, and for me, like I didn't really know. I didn't think I had to. I was the fill-in goalie. For Carey, so I knew what I had to do. I had to shut up. I had to stop the puck. I had to work. I was doing that. I was trying to help people out as much as I can, but then again, I'm not the guy that people really wanted to hear, nor I didn't think I had the role for that. But I just wanted to lead by my play is what I was trying to do. And in my eyes, I thought I was doing a decent job at that. It was just for some reason, there could have been a bunch of factors putting on top of it. We had a couple key injuries, a couple guys going down.
Bringing Shea Weber, and Andrew Shaw in the mix. Yeah. You think because management is thinking, no, there's no way we're going to let this happen again. Yeah. Do those kind of guys change and maybe could prevent that from happening again? Do you think it's part of the equation? Yeah, well,
I think saying that they can means that the people that were here couldn't.
Right.
But I'm not saying that.
Right. I know.
I'm not saying that.
I know what you mean. Not trying to set you up.
I know what you're saying. I just you always be careful with your words.
Yeah, I know
people could run with that.
Yeah,
but, PK and the guys who left brought unbelievable things to the team. They have their own special characteristics,
set of skills,
and that being said, so do Shea, so do Andrew and Bobby Farnham and guys of that like maybe. I mean, I'm not the guy who makes the moves. I'm not paid for that for roster spots, but I think these guys give us a level of physicality that maybe we're missing.
How would you describe? Because we're like at here to find. We're not in the room. How would you describe Michel Terrien's style of coaching? What's his style of coaching?
His style of coaching. I mean, I'm not sure if I'm really the guy to ask because I'm on the ice the whole game and I miss so much stuff that happens on the bench. Right. From just practice standpoint, like I could talk about like how the practices are great. Like he knows when the guys a rest. He knows how to be fair. He knows when to light a fire.
The speeches and
speech wise, yeah. I mean, different coaches have different styles of coaching, and when he's coached as long as he has in the NHL, I think he's doing something right. So who's this rookie goalie trying to question his coaching style?
Right. I'm just trying, not that is he good or bad, or what's his style? Is he more on the emotional side of it, more in the is he more of a cerebral kind of
I think he's a mixture of both. I mean, when you watch a game, you can see him. He gets a fire underneath him, and he's a very X's and O guy. And he brings in a guy. He brings in a new assistant coach this year. He knows what this team needs, and he knows the direction it's going. And then I think it's only positive. Yeah.
When the season ended, you had kind of this second thing of the World Championship.
Yep.
They came calling for you, and did you ever think you would get that call? Did you ever like, oh man, I might be the guy? Did you ever think of it before they actually called you?
I got rumblings maybe when we were eliminated from the playoffs.
Yeah.
My agent kind of told me like, hey, heads up, this could be a possibility. Would you want to go? And I'm not sure what game we were at, but I think we were probably around like game like 45 or something like that, and ended up playing 55 games plus preseason. So that's a lot of hockey. It's the most hockey I played, but at the same time, I never thought I'd ever get to wear the red, white, and blue from my country, and I never had the chance growing up to do it. So I don't care if I had a broken leg, I was going to Russia. If I got invited, I was going. So physically, I was beaten down, tired, but I still had enough juice when I saw that jersey to go out there and go to Russia and represent the country.
What are the because it's always tough for because the playoffs are still going on, or some players are still in the NHL. It's tough for us to figure out. The guy is going over there. What's there? Do they take it seriously? Is this for them a vacation with the kids and the what? You know what I mean? Like, do the guys going over there, are they taking it seriously and want to win, or it's just more kind of a early vacation type of? I just couldn't figure.
I mean, I can't really. I mean, the tournament has a certain reputation amongst people, I guess you could say. Right. But for me, I was, I never know when I'm going to get a chance again to wear that jersey, and adding to that point too is that you have, I met so many different people in hockey that I'd never met before, so many different American players, so many different American connections. That was so important. Right. And obviously you want to make a great impression. So, I mean, that was 100% business for me.
Who impressed you in the tournament that you maybe didn't know before the tournament?
The Patrick Laney from Finland. Yeah? I had no idea who he was, and I played against him twice. Is he the real deal? He's good. He's young and he's good. I keep forgetting my age. That's the problem. Is that I still feel like I'm like I'm an 18-year-old because I don't talk and I keep to myself. But I keep forgetting that I'm 26 and I'm 8 years older than this kid. So he's a good player. Austin Matthews, never seen him play. A lot of people haven't seen him play either because he's been in Europe, in Switzerland. Yeah. So watching him was special. He's going to be a great player.
What's your take on the Phenom?
On who?
I mean, he's kind of this...
the Phenom.
Yeah, the Phenom.
Sorry. No, that's my fault.
That's my fault. That's on me.
I should know that. I
should have the subtitles on
in my eyes, just like looking at him physically, like I remember when I was his age, when I was 18, 19, I was still growing. I didn't even start lifting yet. That was my first year in college when I was 19. Yeah. It was my first start like Olympic lifting and like getting strong and learning about my diet. And then I look at Austin, it was just like, this kid's already jacked. This kid's already 6'2". This kid's skating past grown men. This kid's hands are better than most people's, and he's 18.
That's kind of
imagine when he starts, when he finally stops growing, or when he's fully matured, he's going to be an absolute freak of nature.
You had this kid also, Kyle Connor was on your team.
Kyle Connor, Hobie Baker, runner up, Winnipeg Jet. He was. I gave him a lot of credit. He had a really bad shoulder from the season. He had a separated shoulder that he was. I'm not sure if he hurt it in Finland or if it was a separated shoulder, but. For him to go out on that ice with a bum wing like that,
it's tough.
It's tough, but it just shows you that. I mean, especially when he's going to his pro career,
wants to be there.
That's what that. I mean, that's a good example of what that tournament means to some people.
Right, that's cool. When you guys had finished fourth, maybe it's a bit bummed out by that. But then the summer begins, actual summer. Yeah. What's the timeline? Do you go on vacation for how long? Then when do you start go back to training? How does this actually work for you?
So season NHL season ends April 9th. 2 weeks.
Correct.
Russia, 2 weeks in Russia for a month. Princeton reunions is the same time every year, and that's like May 29th to June 1st.
And you wouldn't miss that.
And I made that. I've never missed one. And I made that one by like 2 days. I was so jet lagged. I was hurting. Like my body was like falling apart. Like,
were people like psyched to see you? Like, man, were people aware? Like, man, you've had a fucking crazy year.
It's kind of funny because at Princeton rink, they like in every rink that I've been to, they always put the jerseys of the guys who played in the NHL up. So in my high school, like there was always, you always look up like, wow, it'd be really cool to have my jersey up there. And when you're playing at Princeton and it's 11 p.m. on a Tuesday night and you got a paper due and you're looking at like George Parros holding the cup in the Princeton wall, you're like, wow, it'd be really cool to have my photo up there. And the first thing I did when I went to Princeton is I went to my photo and I was like, whoa, this actually happened. Like, how did this happen?
I'm that guy now.
This is crazy. I still don't believe it. I don't believe it.
Like, no matter what happens, you're still that guy, and you're always going to be that guy. That's
when I'm fat and old, when I'm 80 years old, I'm going to be still out in front of that picture telling girls it's me. It was once me.
You probably heard the news. I'm obviously kidding. That you this summer you probably got some text message at some point, but when the big Subban trade happened, how did you find out? Where were you? How did you find out?
I was driving I was in Cape Cod. What was I sending? I was going to the post office in Hyannisport, Massachusetts. And I listened to 98.5 The Sports Hub in Boston, even when I drive around Montreal, because I don't pay attention to media around here. So
that's a good thing.
But it's kind of funny sometimes. I'll be listening to the Sports Hub in the morning, and I'll hear my name in the Boston radio, and I'm just like, I cannot get away from it. So sometimes you just cannot get away from it. But I was driving to the post office, and it was that 5-minute span where it was like Stamkos, Weber, Subban, and there was one more.
Was it Radulov? No, not Radulov. No.
There was like 3 huge moves.
UFAs or something.
I don't know. I remember it was obviously Stamkos and Subban, but it was like 5 minutes. And I was like, oh, Taylor Hall.
Yeah, that's the
Taylor
one.
Hall.
Yeah.
Taylor Hall got traded too. So it was like, I was like driving. I was like, holy crap, Taylor Hall got traded.
Shit.
Holy crap, Stamkos signed again. What? Like, oh wow, that was crazy. Like, wasn't expecting that. It was just a shock because, obviously I sometimes read what's going on, but during the summer I'm kind of away from it. But I was like, oh, Taylor Hall got traded. It like doesn't really affect the Habs. Like, oh, it's like Stamkos says doesn't really affect the Habs, and I'm just like kind of like dozing off while I'm driving or not paying attention to the radio, and I hear PK Subban traded for Shea Weber. I'm like, whoa,
What was your initial feel or reaction to that?
It's tough. It's tough because it's a guy on a personal level, and PK was always very nice to me too. Like I can't say anything bad about anyone in the locker room because they welcomed me, and PK was a guy who gave me a lot of good advice about living in the city and how to be a good pro, how to be a good NHLer. So when you hear that, it's sad to see a guy go, but I mean, it's not the first time I've had to deal with it. Being in the East Coast League, you pretty much have a new roster every day. So it's like you get used to saying bye to people. Yeah,
that same day or in the next, I think in the next day or that very same day, the Habs signed Montoya to one. That kind of is more related to you directly.
Yep.
When you saw the news, did you kind of again just like not being handed anything easily over to yourself? Like, what was your reaction? Did you know they would sign a goalie?
Yeah, I kind of had the inclination, especially after what happened last year with Carey and the speculation on that. I mean, at that point, I obviously knew that Carey was 100% healthy. But, every team is carrying 3 goalies, and especially the backup position, it's never, backup, there's no, like, the best backup in the game, right? Like if he's the best backup, he's going to be a starter. Yeah. So that position's always a battling ground, and ever since I've been in playing competitive hockey, there's been a guy behind you and a guy above you, and it's going to be like that no matter what. Yeah. So, I mean, July 1st is the day when you're going to find out who your new teammate is. So I'm looking forward to meeting Al. And
did you think they would actually, when they signed him, did you think a trade was in the works or not? Absolutely not. You just thought
a trade with me?
Yeah, like involving they just signed another goalie. I guess because your contract is one way for this year.
Yeah, I mean, you in your subconscious, like, you can't help but think about the scenarios, and what's going on. But The only thing I learned this year is that, I mean, not the only thing, the best thing I learned this year was that control what you can. Control your attitude. It's hockey. You're playing. Have fun. Work hard. And at the end of the day, if you can look yourself in the mirror and say, I did everything I could to prepare myself for this moment, then what more can you do? Right. That's the best way. And that's why I train so hard, is because that I get confidence in my training. I know I maximize my body to the most, my mind to the most. What more can I do? For the upcoming season, you have one professional season in the NHL under your belt. What do you want to be better at physically and mentally? What have you learned? You're like, that I didn't know a year ago. Now I know. What are your, maybe not weaknesses, but what do you want to get better at? Get better at. We're gonna. Oh, jeez. I had a big list at the end of last year. They gave me a big list to work on. Make sure you wouldn't waste your time just being. They give you a list like Steph Wade gives you a list. Oh no, I'm not gonna like list what Steph said, but it's just like, make sure you're not too confident about next year. Well, yeah, there's that. There's always this. I mean, it's not just the Habs, but it's with every team in the NHL. It's everyone was always saying, don't get too comfortable. Don't get too comfortable. And like sometimes you'd be walking around the rink and people would be like, oh, comfy, huh? You're pretty comfy, huh? And last year it was like, who would say that to you? I can't name names. I can't be naming names. I mean, people players. More or less, like more just messing around with you. If if you're a rookie, like getting in the first in the food line, like getting comfortable, huh? Like stuff like that. But I mean, that's the one thing in hockey at this level is that I learned is that you can never get comfortable because as quickly as it came, it can be gone like that, and you have no idea when you're going to get your next opportunity. So for every day for me. And I'm so blessed to have the perspective of playing in the past leagues and seeing what's happened. I have that perspective, and it's honestly the most what's the word I'm looking for? The most I'm asking the non-English speaker what the word is. I'm like, can I use like a rebound? Can I use a call? Can I use my call? Oh, geez, lifeline. It's the biggest motivating thing out there is the perspective that I have. So that's what I use. When you're just a year in your career now in the NHL, but if you had to if you envision your career, the perfect career, how long do you think how long do you see yourself playing in the NHL? What do you see yourself as a journeyman? Could you think you could be a starter in the NHL? What do you envision for yourself for your career in the NHL? My vision for myself, I told my trainer I wanted to play 10 years in the NHL. This summer I said, I want to play 10 years in the NHL. And he's like, well, you'll be 36. I was like, let's do it. Why not? Let's do it. He's like, you have 2 surgically repaired hips. I'm like, let's do it. Let's go. Come on. That's what you got to do. That's what I told him. I mean, is it real? Is it realistic? Who knows? Is it practical? Who knows? But I'm not a big goal guy. I'm not like, I want to have a .920 save percentage. I want to have a 2 goals against average. I want to get 20 wins. My goal is to surpass my effort from the day before. And that may sound cliche, but that's 100% what I believe. I want to perfect my routine every day, and I want to do it harder than the day I did it before. And that's my goal. And if I do that, then I'll play 10 years in the NHL. Has worked pretty well for you. We got 9 more to go, so let's not count our chickens before they roost. Last question. Yeah. What do you already see something for yourself after hockey? What would be, now that you've been in the NHL, sometimes it changes options and everything that, since this year, now you have the NHL, you're an NHL player, so it opens doors for you. Yeah. Because obviously I don't think you're going to go back to finance, or it's the feel I get. Yeah. What do you see yourself doing after hockey? I don't know. Princeton and Belmont Hill gave me a network of people, and just the network. I have so many networks of people that I've met, and so many great relationships with people that, to be honest, I don't really know what I want to do. I was working with a charity this summer with a guy named Shane Hudello of the United Heroes League, going down to Fort Bragg, working with military families, and I was like, this could be a job. This could be something that I could be. It could be a job that I have meaning, could have value. And I think the one thing I want to do in my life is just to have a job that has an impact. Yeah. I've learned that money won't make you happy. It make things easier, but You can buy it.
You've paid Princeton.
Well, once you get out of the red, things are kind of nice. Once you have no more debt and you're looking around, then you start trying to help your family members' debt. And then once everyone's out, everyone's kind of.
That was the first paycheck. What did you do with the first big paycheck?
Signing bonus $92,000 after taxes. It's like $58,000. So
that takes care of Princeton.
No, it did not take care. No, it didn't take care of Princeton.
Jeez,
no,
I'm so innocent.
Yeah. You guys got to get up here.
Yeah.
It didn't. So I never had a car I never had a nice car growing up. I had a 1994 Chevy S10 manual with no radio. But it got stolen behind Northeastern when my brother had it. But it was like this. It had two jump seats in the back that faced each other. It was the most. Oh my god! It was smart by my dad because it took about 10 seconds to get to 60 miles an hour or 100 kilometers. Like, it wasn't fast. I was a teenager, so it was smart. I couldn't get hurt. Well, I mean, the thing was tiny, but it was like this little mini truck, and it was a manual, so like it couldn't go anywhere. It had one drive wheel too. It wasn't all wheel drive. There was one drive wheel.
Sounds like a terrible car.
So we didn't have a lot of money, so it got the job done. So when I got my sign bonus, I go to my dad. I'm getting a car, and my dad's like, "Be careful." And my brother was very lucky. He worked in the oil industry driving oil ships, so he was in marine oil transportation, which at the time was very lucrative. So when he graduated school, he was the same way. Like, he was driving the same car I was. So we were both so sick of this car that we both wanted to buy brand new cars when we got it. So he bought at the time it was a brand new Cadillac DTS. It had like 5,000 miles. Thing was smooth. It was black. It was slick. And I was like, my brother Zach was like, Mike, don't you buy a new car? It'd be the worst decision of your life. And I'm like, okay. So I went to BMW and I was like, I'm going to get a BMW, but it's going to be 4 years old and it's going to be a certified pre-owned. How about that? And my dad was like, whoa. All right, fine. I'm like, you know what? Why am I still asking you? I can do whatever I want. And so I bought a BMW, and it's a great car. The only mistake I made was it was a 2-door, and my whole life was traveling and sticking goalie pads. Right. So 90% of my drives, I have a goalie pad right next to my face. So I guess if I get in a car wreck, knock on wood, I'm going to have a nice couple goalie pads around. Nice cushioning of goalie pads.
Mike, it's about 40 degrees in here.
It's hot. That's hot in Canadian temperatures.
Celsius degrees. You've been very nice for doing this. Thank you again.
Yeah, anytime, man.
And best of luck for this season.
Thanks, appreciate it.
Thank you, man. Merci encore à Mike Condon d'être passé au podcast. C'était une très chouette rencontre. Je lui souhaite que du succès. Je suis encore sa carrière, même à distance. Pour vous, si vous avez envie de suivre le podcast, tout ce qu'on fait, allez liker une de nos pages, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, blablabla. On sort un nouvel épisode à chaque lundi. Donc, c'est ça. OK, bye-bye!